He's Pete Thamel of Yahoo Sports calling in. How are you, Pete?
Rich, I'm great. Condolences to your alma mater. They had a nice run.
Hey, man, they did. And only one team can come out with 6 wins. Only one team can come out with 5, and they were the one that came out with 5. So, well, I guess I'm not including a possibility of a playing game, but I think you know where I'm going on that. But I do want to focus on Villanova and talk about how they might be taking this sport to a different place right now, based on what you're reporting. Do you believe that they are, in fact, changing the way that teams are going to recruit and play this sport, Pete?
Well, I think we've started to see it a little bit already, Rich. Obviously, the small ball phenomenon is in full throttle in the NBA, and it's hard to quantify. It's like saying how many teams run the spread offense. It's hard to say how many teams play small ball because you can play a lot of different ways in a game. But I would think like maybe a quarter or a third of college basketball is this way. But to just see how far ahead Villanova is of the rest of the field in college basketball is stunning. And you can't help but think there's coaches sitting in their basketball offices this morning going, guys, we got to change the way we play. We need to find a 5 who can shoot. We can't. We can't be tethered to a 6'9" stiff in the middle if he's unskilled. We need to try to look this way and play this way. And look, not only did it work, and there's eras of the NBA where the style that worked was completely unaesthetic, right? Really, college basketball right now is completely unaesthetic in a lot of ways. But this Villanova team, I will never forget the way the ball buzzed around the perimeter on Saturday night against Kansas. It was unlike anything I'd seen. There was just like a kinetic connection between those guys. And the stat I'll always remember from that game, Rich, is that Kansas didn't foul Villanova on a shot to go to the line for the game's first 31 minutes. So they didn't attempt a free throw until like the 9-minute mark. And it was basically because they couldn't catch them because there was such good spacing and the ball moved at such a precipitous pace that Kansas didn't have a chance to foul. So I hope for the sake of the sport that we see things move this way.
Yeah, Pete, and last night Michigan had a 7-point lead, and they were getting Brunson frustrated. They were switching expertly to create problems on the 3-point line, and it only really halfway through the first half, giving up 1 3-pointer period against Villanova, and then DiVincenzo came off the bench. He was unbelievable. Tell me more about this kid and who he is and what we saw last night, Pete.
He is the Michael Jordan of Delaware. That is one of his labels. He is from Delaware. He was an under-recruited guy. I think his final 2 were Syracuse and Nova, but he was not a guy that they had to beat off Kentucky or Duke to get. He was not like a big McDonald's All-American national recruit. He had actually, on their title team year, he had played in 10 games and started 1. He broke a bone in his foot. And so he took a red shirt that year. So someone asked him about the first title team last night. And he said he watched in a suit on the bench, which I thought was kind of a good line. I mean, and he was their 6th-man extraordinaire this year. He started 10 games, I think. But for the most part, he was a guy who came off the bench and played starters minutes. We saw him do to Alabama in the second game of the tournament the same thing he did Michigan. He had 18 in the first half against Alabama. And look, like calling around about Mikal Bridges a couple of weeks ago for a profile of him. He's obviously the surefire lottery pick on Villanova. A couple NBA guys were like, don't be surprised if DiVincenzo ends up in our league. They didn't think it would be immediately. It could be immediately now. But he's a guy, because of his explosiveness. I mean, think about the best play I think he made all night was he misses a shot in the lane, one of the very few, and he's in the cameras. And he does a full sprint down and pins the ball on a block. I forget who shot it. It might have been
Simpson. I think it was Simpson who did that. Yeah.
I think it was. And he pins the ball to the rim, and it gets stuck there. I mean, that was just everything you want. It was athleticism. It was unbelievable hustle, and then timing. I can't recall a guy who has had more aggressive and violent putback dunks. He's a violent jumper, if that makes sense. Like, when he launches towards the rim, there's something different about it. There's a level of athleticism and twitch there that's on a higher plane. He had a couple putbacks in Boston that I remember in the East region, sort of sitting up in press row, being like, "Whoa, that's different." You don't see that. You don't see that every day. So, I mean, what a great story. And I don't think, Rich, you can sit back and say, "Oh, Michigan didn't play that well."
No.
I mean, I thought they played all right. I thought
Pete,
defensively they had a good game plan, and then one guy just came and delivered a haymaker. And sometimes there's not much you can do. When he hit that heat check 3 in the first half, you were like, okay, this is where this is going. It's pretty obvious.
I know. I was feeling the same way. And by the way, that block that on Simpson, a lot of my fellow Wolverines on Twitter thought was a goaltend, but the ball was never above the rim. I mean, that's why he was able to pin it inside, around the rim right there. But to me, I thought his most impressive block was the two-handed one on Matthews, who was a wide open path to the basket, it seemed. And man, this kid DiVincenzo deserved the most outstanding player. He was absolutely incredible. Pete Thamel of Yahoo Sports here in the Honda Insider Report. Do you think Jay Wright punched his ticket to the Hall of Fame last night?
Yeah, and I think even if they lost, Jay Wright's a Hall of Fame coach. I don't think there's much doubt about that. You wonder if he gets a wandering eye, Rich. I think it's worth asking at this point. You win 2 titles in 3 years. Billy Donovan won them back-to-back and found himself with a wandering eye a few years later. Jay certainly, I think, has the temperament and humility on an NBA sideline, unlike certain coaches in Lexington and recently Louisville who went to the NBA without that temperament and humility and failed spectacularly. At that level, I think Wright would be able to relate to players because the NBA is relationship managing as much as it is coaching, and certainly it's plenty of coaching. I don't want to demean or downplay that, but it's like any job. It comes back to people, right? You can work in sales, you can work as a janitor, you can work as an executive. It comes down to people, and that's where Jay Wright is a cut above his peers in college basketball. And that's not to take anything away from him as a coach, because certainly we've seen him refine a system. And I think the legacy of this Final Four, Rich, is player development. I think there's going to be a renewed focus on, okay, let's get guys better. How do we get guys better? In the 4 Villanova games I saw in the tournament, I don't believe they committed a charge because they jump stop everything and they're in control at all times. And I just think there's some little nuances that are just byproducts of a really well-run fundamental program that Jay Wright has.
Well, the only reason why Jay Wright might want to jump is I don't know, because to me, let's sit on this one a little bit here, Pete, because to me it might be like what's going on in football, where you're seeing guys, instead of going pro, just staying and becoming the lord over a fiefdom collegiately when the money is pretty much the same, right? I mean, so why would Jay Wright want to bounce to the NBA unless what you and Pat Forty have been reporting on is going to start changing the entire landscape of the sport? I mean, what did you hear about your reporting over the last several weeks with tournament play kind of pushing that to the background, Pete?
Look, it's ongoing, Rich, and you can't look at that story in like a micro vacuum. You have to look at it from a macro, and I probably was asked this about 6,000 times in San Antonio. My colleague Pat Forty probably another 6,000 times. When's the next shoe going to drop? Everyone's impatient, I think that's probably a societal thing more than anything else. And the final of the 3 trials tied to the case is set for April of 2019. So at the very least, we have another year of revelations of this hanging over the sport. Potential people flipping on, people within the game. Like, there is a lot of golf left to play there. We've probably just finished the 6th hole, if we want to start using Masters analogies this week.
So, in other words, Jay Wright would want the wanderlust just because some NBA owner just throws a ton of money at him where he just couldn't even be able to stick around there? Or how about this? Hold on.
It would be a new challenge.
Right.
I think it would just be a new challenge. Like, at a certain point, you want a new challenge. If he stays another decade, Villanova becomes the Duke of the Northeast, if it already isn't.
All right. So when it all is said and done, I found it interesting. You say player development is going to be what's taken away from this tournament. We're going to see more and more people try to be like Villanova. Copycat sport situation. Yeah,
and Michigan, quite frankly. I mean, you follow it close, Rich. Like, Mo Wagner wasn't exactly, someone that the coaches were lined up on the sideline to see in Berlin. And you can kind of go through. They certainly have very good players. You don't want to demean them, but John Beilein wasn't. Let's put it this way: Michigan State's roster on paper was exponentially more talented than Michigan's this year. No one's going to dispute that. And Michigan had a much better season.
So who do you think's got the better pro prospects, DiVincenzo or Wagner? What do you think?
Oh, DiVincenzo. I mean, Wagner's a nice, skilled college player who fits well in that system. I don't know if he has the pop and the athleticism to really who is he on the next level? I have a hard time wrapping my mind around that.
Pete, thanks for the time. We'll chat down the line. Great reporting.
Rich, appreciate you.
We got it. Same to you. That's Pete Thamel.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.